It's this, yo. This has been a long time coming too, bro. Planning. I know you don't like to plan, but
Hey, you a master planner. I'm an improviser.
Listen, you an improviser. That's true.
But hey,
that's true.
opposites attract, dog.
That's true. That's true. All right. Well, Heathen Radio. My name is Andrew. I'm 34 years old. I go to church at the Mount Pisgah Seventh-day Adventist Church in Miami Gardens, Florida. I'm here with my co-host Matt.
Matt, as you heard, I am 34 as well, and I also go to Mount Pisgah every once in a while while running to Andrew Baker's mother. But I've actually grown up at Maranatha SDA in Miami, and not sure what my membership is now. But let's keep it going.
Yeah, I go virtually. That's how I do. I
think everybody goes to YouTube SDA.
Truthfully, that's really maybe that's what we say next time.
Everybody goes to YouTube SDA Church. Location global.
Location global. That's it. That's funny. Well, all right. So Heathen Radio, like, why that name? I mean, I have a couple reasons why I call it, but I mean,
let me hear what you're saying. Let me hear it.
Well, let's start with the definition first. Let's do that. Let's start with the definition of heathen, because I think it fits a lot of. I want to say us, but when I say us, I mean specifically people our age, specifically men our age.
Truth.
So let's see here. Let's look at the definition of heathen. Let's see here. This is from the
Oxford, yeah.
Oxford. Looks like, let's see here. A noun, a person who does not belong to a widely held religion, especially one who is not a Christian, Jew, or Muslim, as regarded by those who do. There's an adjective as well, which is a describing word, which is describing relating to heathens, which is going back to the noun that we was talking about. And I think the last part of that, as regarded by those who do, is the most important part.
Yeah, and that's the part that makes a difference. It's just like, what do you identify as?
Well,
that's always going to be what the question is.
Well, it's what do those who do identify you as? That's the perspective that I'm coming from, because like I drink, I smoke, I cuss sometimes. Right. I go to YouTube SDA.
Right.
Like,
call yourself a Christian. That's the thing. What are you identifying as?
Well, I still call myself a Seventh-day Adventist, but the saints probably would not. Which is, truthfully, that's okay to me, because they can't send, they ain't got no heaven nor hell to send me to. That's what they like to say, right?
But it mentions Christian, Jew, or Muslim. I guess because arguably those are the biggest religions in the world. But you look at Jews; they got Orthodox and unorthodox Jews, and they have different categories of Jews. The religion's been long enough that it's been able to adapt and grow and evolve and have subsections. I don't think Christianity's there yet. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Well, I don't know if I agree with you there, because Seventh-day Adventists are a subsect of Christians.
It is, but I think there's no subsections of Adventism.
Not yet. I think one of my theories is that we on the verge of another Reformation.
We have to be, because anybody I know that was raised with me as an Adventist does not fully claim Adventism. They don't even act. They act like they forgot about it.
Yeah.
I tell you, I met a girl who was Adventist, born and raised, and I'm talking to this girl. And I'm at a party for a good friend of mine's, Mel. But
sound like you in the heathen category too, bro. Partying.
We chilling, and she seemed. I'm gonna keep 100. She seemed like a heathen. What
does that mean? What does that mean?
It just seemed like I didn't know her from nowhere in my childhood. Like you get this feeling.
A non-believer.
I just like it. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like the lines have been blurred at this point. You just don't know where her past could link you to. We get to talking. And it's the funniest thing how I found out she was SDA. You're not going to believe this story. I'm glad this just happened this weekend, because I want to tell this on the show so bad. I went to a party. It's actually at a friend's house. She has a nice house, high-rise apartment in Hollywood. We park, but parking is a mess out there. Paid parking everywhere. You got to pay $1 or $2 an hour. It's not bad, but if you're going to be at the house for like 5-6 hours, it's going to stack up.
I ain't even going to be in this car.
Bro, and so everybody's tripping about parking. The funniest thing, there's an Adventist church walking distance from my girl house, right? Walking distance from the house. I get in the party and I start talking, and we're getting ready to leave. It's like 1:00 in the morning. We're like, all right, yo, I'm gonna leave it. We're like talking to each other, like coordinating, like, we gonna leave it too? All right, we gonna leave it too. And I'm talking to this one girl, like, where'd you park? And she's like, at the church. I said, oh, right there? And she's like, yeah, you know about that church? I said, I'm Seventh-day Adventist. And she said, me too. And she said, I used to go to that church. So I parked there. I know they ain't gonna tell me. I said, wait.
They know me. They got my membership.
I said, wait, you serious? I said, you used to go to that church? She's like, yeah. I told her the church I went to. She told me the church we went to. Bro, we got into this deep dive about Adventism. If you would have seen me 10 minutes earlier, it's like I never even knew her. And once she said she was Adventist, I literally felt like I knew her my entire life.
Well, it's funny because the Adventist community is both small and huge at the same. It's both at the same time. You know, it's like it's small in that you never more than like 2 degrees away from you know, knowing somebody, especially if you in the like. Especially if you're in certain regions of this country, you never far from an Adventist.
Oh yeah, you in Barron Springs, you in Huntsville, yeah.
Well, I mean, even Chicago, Detroit, L.A. I was living in Vegas for a while, and there was a church right down the street from where I was living.
Hey, look at the numbers. The Adventist church is the most widespread church in the world, next to Catholicism. Next to Catholic, Adventism is number 2.
Yeah. Well, and going back to what you said about like while that is also true, I also know a lot of people who have who no longer identify as Adventists, even though they may still even go to an Adventist church. Yeah. You know, so you know that's kind of why I identify as a heathen, because it's like, yeah, I still call myself a Seventh-day Adventist, but not a traditional one. You know. So,
and I think our generation is creating a definition of what we think an Adventist is. And I think it's a lot deeper than what you see on the surface. As I said, you want my story. I couldn't tell with this girl on the surface at all. You know what I'm saying? It's actually kind of sad because a lot of the time...
You should be able to tell.
But when you meet Adventists, they usually wilding way harder than the people.
I know.
It's actually kind of crazy because we weren't exposed to it. We weren't exposed to it. So a lot of people don't know how to go about, you know, exploring that part of things, you know, the world, or what everybody wants to call it, worldly heathen practices. We don't even know how to like dabble in it, because you know everybody around us, when we get out of the church, they're all dabbling in it, and you're trying to figure out like, do I want this to be part of my story? Do I want to try this and decide I don't like it? You know, do I want to just never try it and never know if I'm gonna like it? Like
it kind of reminds me of Rumspringa, the Amish thing. Yeah. It's like I'm not like,
break that down.
So I'm not Amish, so I don't. So this is like a tertiary thing that I have never actually been exposed to. But you know, Amish have a very specific way of life.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's something along the something like around adolescence or early adolescence, you know, something like that. The Amish give their children the opportunity to actually go out into the world and see if they want to be, you know.
I remember they had a reality show.
Yeah, it's called, and I believe it's called Rumspringa. And so like they like it's Amish. Like, yo, hey, listen, if you wanna be part of this religion, go for it. If you don't, go out and see. And you know, like if you like, and what's funny is what I hear is most of them come back.
90%.
You know, but
most, like majority.
But I don't think it's like that for Adventists.
I think it's a little different. I think they come back, but I don't think they want to. Because Adventism is a lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's the same thing with Amish. There's certain religions that pass the threshold of just being a religion. It becomes more of a lifestyle. Like, you know, you have Jewish. You got, you know, the Amish. There's like 5 or 6 religions that once you're in it, you have to sacrifice a complete way of living that you're used to in order to adapt to this religion. Adventism is one of those religions, where it's like you have to have a lifestyle. So if you're born and raised in this religion and it's your lifestyle and it's all you know, and then somebody says, "Hey, go see if you know something else. See if you want to find something else that you like out there," you're gonna come back to what you know. And it's almost like, you know, like train up a child, like, you know, the Bible verse that they tell you. It's just like, it almost makes you sound like you're domesticated. You know what I'm saying? It almost sounds like, you know, like this. I'm gonna let this dog go out the street, but he gonna come back home.
I feed him. He gotta come back for this.
I got the food here, like. Even if it's not economical, even if you have the money to move out your whatever, your parents' house, or you go live on your own and stuff, you're gonna live a certain way of life sometimes that lines with what you were raised with. And yo, it just depends, man. It depends, because I've seen people leave and never come back. I've seen people turn 18 and turn around, and I would actually argue that that's the majority of the story that I'm seeing. Even the girl I met this past weekend, she left at 18. She remembers the age. Like, I left at 18. She was so ready to go. So ready to go. And
well, it's you're right. It definitely is a lifestyle for sure. And it seems, well, not it seems. I've heard this said by a lot of saints that like, we have the truth. That's the thing. That's what they claim. And
I mean, that's our whole motto. Yeah.
And it's I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't know if that's right or wrong, because a lot of what we teach, not a lot, some of what we teach does not come from the Bible. And I only realized that once I started reading the Bible for myself.
You got to acknowledge, that Adventism, we have, if you look at the founder's story, they have, Ellen White, there's a lot of different sources of, Adventist belief. There's a lot of.
There's 28 fundamental beliefs. That's what
28
I mean.
Fundamental,
28
fundamental
beliefs. And I don't know when the last time was that you took a look at those beliefs, but and I did this exercise with a friend of mine. Well, and we went through the 28 fundamental beliefs, and what we realized is that, like, okay, for the majority of them, we believe in, like, the first sentence.
And those are the ones that you do before you get baptized, correct? I think those are
well,
because when you get baptized, you have to read off.
It's like a class you got to go to.
I believe it. Yeah, you do the class or whatever. But then I think
unless you do it at camp meeting, they baptize you.
But I think right before I got in the water, they make you recite a bunch of things, like 28 fundamental beliefs of just like.
I haven't seen a baptism in a long time though.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it.
I believe the pastor comes down and everybody got their white robe and their shower cap on.
Yeah. But well. So when was the last time you saw an Advent or a baptism, Adventist baptism?
I think a couple of months ago. I always catch them randomly going to a church or even on YouTube SDA. I think I saw a baptism at a local church here the other day, and that was actually the first time I've seen a baptism
in a long time.
Yeah, in a while. It's been a minute.
I feel like it used to be. It used to be way more. It probably was like 40% more baptisms than there is.
Nah, it was a lot more. It was a lot more back in the day, of course. I mean, I was waiting until I was old enough to make my choice to get baptized. I got baptized at 12. Mm-hmm. And I haven't rebaptized since.
I'm trying to think of when was the year that I got baptized. I can't even remember. It's been so long. I definitely remember it was a camp meeting though. It was at the swimming pool at Lake Region Conference Region Conference Campground. I remember that. They had just redone the pool. Like, they had just remade it. So it was off. It was the plaster was all fresh. The water was straight up clean. The filter system was nice. I was like, all right, this is what I.
It was the backyard pool, wasn't it? It was the one that you put up in your backyard for the summer.
No. It was the
in-ground.
Yeah,
it was an in-ground pool.
Yeah,
Lake Region got an in-ground
LRC. Yeah, bro. Well, they used to when I
was going there.
Well, it's way in the back. It's by well, I haven't been to the campground in a long time, so I can't say specifically. But when I was there, it was back behind the basketball courts. You remember where the basketball courts was?
Yeah, well, I know the indoor gym is. I don't know about the outdoor basketball courts.
Let's see. So if it was, because you definitely seen them basketball courts.
So I mean, I only seen the indoor gym. I mean, they had these little cabins and.
Yeah, and then on those, like, next to those cabins was like a place where you could bring in your trailer. You remember that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then there was a road that was right next to that.
Yeah.
And right on the other side of that road was where the basketball courts were.
Okay. I know what you're talking about.
And if you kept on going that way, the pool was behind them basketball courts.
The pool must always been closed when we was there because I didn't know there was even a pool.
I believe that.
Yeah,
I believe that.
Yeah, no, I remember when I got baptized. I was 12. It was probably like 2001 then. Yep. And I got baptized in my Pathfinder uniform.
Really?
I never forget.
Yo, you deep on Pathfinders, bro.
Look, I tell people this all the time. If it wasn't for Pathfinders, I would have strayed long time ago. Pathfinders.
I hear that story a lot, actually.
It's what kept me after 18 years old, to be honest with you. Is because it was a calling that was way more important to me than, arguably, especially as a kid, way more important than anything else going on. Because it was bringing kids to the ministry. It was making kids not as bored to come to church with their whatever grandma or their mom, and it was just like, because when we got there, I mean, and it's funny because I didn't realize how like depressing it might be until somebody comes in from the outside and they're like, "Yo, y'all not bored?" Bro, I almost don't like taking non-Adventists to church because they're always
they don't get it. They're
not gonna get it. Like, bro, like. And every couple of years, I take a non-Adventist to church, and I'm just like, just check it out. Usually, they want to come. Usually, it's like, yo, I want to see what you so into this about. I'm like, all right, and I bring them. I just brought somebody about a month ago to a church I'd never been to either. Decided to go to an Adventist church, but as I said, it's such a small community.
They're everywhere, man.
It's the most widespread religion in the world, other than Catholicism. It's right up there with We're
No, we
competing with
definitely do it. We
Catholicism.
definitely do. I would say outreach, but that's not even necessarily what it is. It's like we have a wide reach. The Adventist Church has a wide reach. That's why you can find somebody. That's why you can find somebody anywhere.
It's the widest reach you can possibly have. I know I'm saying, like my sister went to Nome, Alaska. I tell the story all the time, and there was only one church there, and it was an Adventist church. See, I'm serious. It was an Adventist church, and she went there. She met all of her friends there. Like she flew planes out there. It was like, shouts out to Monique. She had a great time in Alaska. But I mean, you can go anywhere on the planet, and you can find an Adventist church and a Catholic church. It's probably the only two churches you can find. It's part of a lifestyle. It really is. There's a lot of things in Adventism that I realize a lot of other churches don't necessarily subscribe to. Like the Sabbath lunch thing. I thought every church did that.
Man, and with the advent of YouTube SDA, that's becoming more of a more potent now than it used to be, for sure. I mean, because I'm down here in South Florida, like I'll wake up and go to put on the YouTube channel on my TV, and then once it's done, I'm calling up people like, hey, yo, dinner at my place or whatever. You know what I mean? And so and that's really where the fellowship happens.
That's where most of the religion takes place, to be honest with you.
After church,
outside
of church.
And that's where the community and lifestyle is built. Really, it's really outside of the church, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because it's definitely like Sabbath lunch, and I think we used to have Pathfinders on Sunday. That's when we would bring people with us.
Yeah, and maybe we have to break down Sabbath lunch. I mean, we know it's probably mostly Adventist listeners are listening, but for people that don't know what Sabbath lunch is, of course we
it's a ritual, man. Yeah. It's a potent ritual.
So we acknowledge Saturday as a Sabbath. So anytime Saturday morning comes, we go to church. And then once we leave church, whatever, 1:30, 2 o'clock, usually, if you ask around enough, you'll find somebody at the church that's hosting a lunch at their house. Mm-hmm. Almost 90 to 100% of the time. If the church isn't hosting the lunch already at the church.
Yeah, right. If the church is not hosting it,
then somebody's going to have a house where they're going to open it up to whoever wants to come and get lunch.
Total strangers.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you just met this person today at church, and you're going to their house to eat lunch with them.
Yeah.
I thought that was a regular thing for every religion, and come to find out, no, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not.
It definitely is something that's not normal. Not normal, but what I mean is, like, it's not standard.
It's not standard, yeah.
So I can, and it's important. Mm-hmm. Like, arguably, I would say that it's more important than the divine worship service.
More important. It's more important because I recognize that I see God through the people around me.
Yeah,
and I feel like the people around me bring me closer to God than almost anybody else.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. And
that's the whole point.
Yeah. I mean, because He shines through that building, but then the people go out of that building, and they're the ones that pass it on to everybody. The ministry is the lifestyle, is what people forget. The ministry is more of the lifestyle than anything else. The lifestyle is what brings people to Adventism more than anything else.
What you mean by that?
Even the fact that we do things differently, like having to explain to everybody that I'd never had chicken at the age of 10. And they're like, why? And then it comes with this long explanation of my religion. It's like it almost forces you to explain your religion everywhere you go, because you're doing something different in almost every circle.
Yeah,
like you're not doing something
on pork. Yeah, well, but that's becoming. Let's see here. Vegetarianism is becoming more common now.
It's outside of religion. Actually, it's actually becoming common, I think. In just health circles at this point.
Well, this might be a deep cut, but you remember New Start?
Yeah.
That was back in the day when it was like an abbreviation for a bunch of different aspects of healthy living,
like nutrition,
exercise, water, sunlight, air, rest, trust in God.
Now hold on, temperance. You forgot one of the T's.
NEW. ST, temperance was
T
was the first. Temperance was the first T, and then trusting God was the last one for sure.
God was the last one,
and like it was. That's, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of gone out of style now, but that I in my mind I connect New Start and Loma Linda. Those are the two things because I think there was a back in the day there was like a study that was done on like longevity, like human longevity.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like Adventist was up in
Yeah,
that
it was like
thing.
number 3 or something like
Adventist
that.
was up in that thing. And
Yeah,
so
because- yeah.
so then you get, like, so what am I trying to say? There's a lot of advantages to being an Adventist,
Tons. Yeah. Tons.
but it's not keeping people.
It's not, and this is what this radio show is about. It's really trying to break down why it's not keeping people, because
Right.
it has every reason to keep people.
Right.
It does. Like the positive outweighs the negative. If you ask me, the positive outweighs the negative. But in a lot of our generation, that's the opposite story.
I'm about to say, I'm not sure if I can actually go with you there.
I stuck with Adventism well into my 30s. Like, I'm talking about every Sabbath, every Saturday morning, getting up, go to church.
Yeah, you was
till I was in my late 20s. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
but why then? Let me ask you that. Why?
I felt like I was making a difference in the church more than I was whatever at work, on the streets, at my job, in free time. I just felt like I affected people more at the church than I did anywhere else. And I'm still trying to explain how, but I just understood that a lot of the people at the church, and this is sad but true, are between the ages of birth to about 16, 17, 18. And then there's a massive gap.
Yeah, from like
There's a massive gap.
18 to, I'd say, mid to late 30s.
I mean, some might stay till about 21, but usually after 21, they are out of there.
Yeah.
And usually between the ages between 21 and about 35.
Yeah, late 30s.
A lot of the time, people don't even come back until they have kids and realize that they want their kids to be raised how they were, and then they bring them back to church.
Well, so what does that mean?
It's,
why are they losing? What do we call them? Young adults.
And it's
because
funny
that's what it is.
Yo, they had a whole study about this. I mean, the Adventist church was scrambling when I was a teenager.
It's because they need our money.
When I
It's true, bro. It's true.
well, yeah, I mean, look,
Let's talk about. I mean, let's really be real about it. That's
it's
what
publicly funded. Every religion is publicly funded. Religions are businesses. We gotta first acknowledge that.
Yeah, that's true.
They-
Yes,
they run with a business structure.
tax advantage businesses, by the way.
Exactly, bro. I'm not gonna talk about that. Yeah, we're not gonna. Yeah, because it's a 501(c)(3), it's a nonprofit organization. They're all nonprofit. Every church that you know has to register with the state. Every building, they pay rent. Like, they're businesses.
I don't know if I'd say that they pay rent.
I mean, and as I said, I would like to do more research in it.
Who do you think the church? Like, you don't. I guess I never really thought about this, but I always thought that the church owned the building. But then I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, they be saying up in church when the offering come through about keeping the lights on. And all that kind
they
of
pay
stuff.
for that building through offering. Like, I'm not sure how much the conference is involved with paying the bills, but I know that they have, like, once the church is paid off.
When you say the conference, you mean the administration, right?
Yeah,
the
well,
church administration.
Yeah, church administration, which is the definition of what the conference is. Yeah, but they do a mortgage burning. I don't know if you ever seen a church.
Oh
do a mortgage burning.
yeah.
That's
Once
when
they pay off the
paying
church.
the church, yeah.
Okay.
So that's when it's paid off. But until they do that mortgage burning,
They
paying for that church. Yeah. So they're paying the water.
They're not small buildings, bro.
They're not small, man. Like, nowadays they're a lot smaller. But I mean, at one point in Miami, especially, man, we had a church popping up every couple of years. Serious. Because it was such a growing population in the late 90s, early 2000s. Every couple of years we had a new church pop up.
Yeah.
And they had these massive ideas of building this huge building.
Yeah,
and but then funding just disappeared, dog.
Well, I mean, you can. It's because the congregation is shrinking.
Yeah.
When the congregations were growing, then you could, you could project figures, and you could decide how, we could build another wing and all this kind of stuff, because we getting what we'll say 20 new members every 3 months or whatever it is. But that number is, not only has that number gone down, like, people are leaving now, and especially with the advent of YouTube University. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, even though I'm a member of a church, I don't pay tithe or offering. Cause for what? I don't need to pay for this building. I don't need to pay for the building. I don't need my money to go to the conference. I don't need none of that. Cause I mean, what are they doing for me?
That's how you feel. The thing is, like, and this is how Adventism became the most widespread religion in the world, is because they're using that money to minister. They're using that money to spread outward, not upward.
What's the advantage to me as a member if I give 10% of my income, and that goes to a church in Alaska? How does that benefit me as a member?
You go to Alaska, you visit Alaska, you want somewhere to worship? Hey, and it's happened anywhere I go in the world. I can find an Adventist church.
Okay, right, but
And that's because of the distribution of wealth that the Adventist churches set up. They do it to minister. You remember the main goal is to minister.
but not to me. But not to me as a member.
They already got you. You already part of the group.
That's
Yeah,
until I take my money away.
You already part of the group.
And even then, they like even once they not getting my money, it's almost as if they don't care, even though it's clear that they do care.
They do. It's just like, okay, you have to understand the Adventism is more than just church. It's an ecosystem of different buildings. It's literally like you can build
not
a
just
city
buildings.
around.
Not just, it is an ecosystem, but it's not just buildings.
Well, yeah. Oh, okay, you're right. Because you have church, and then remember you have the Adventist schools.
That's
So
true.
you
The
have-
schools
you
are
have
definitely
the
a big
K through
part too.
12
We didn't
Adventist
even
schools.
talk about that.
Yeah,
but
no.
you're
So
right.
you got Adventist colleges and
you're right.
universities all over the world.
I don't think they're all over.
They're all over the world.
I mean, universities. I think when it comes to Adventist universities, you got Andrews and you got Andrews and you got Oakwood.
No,
Those are the big two
in America.
What
in America, you remember? You think I'm
and
talking
then-
about
but
the
no,
world?
You know what? Now that I'm thinking
There's
about
one
it,
in
you also
Jamaica.
do have a lot of other. I mean, you got
Bro,
Southern.
You been to Oshkosh, bro? You been to Oshkosh?
There's
Bro.
colleges.
Adventism is huge in Brazil, believe it or not. So when I visited Brazil, bro, I went to Sao Paulo. I kid you not. I went to the mall in Sao Paulo. Every billboard in that mall was advertising the Adventist school down the block in Sao Paulo. Brazil.
What type of school?
Adventist, I think a K through 12, super
Elementary.
Adventist. Yeah, I think it went from like
That-
from K all the way through 12th grade.
That I definitely do agree with you. There's definitely a lot of I'll say elementary and maybe even high schools.
It's and I hate, like, I don't like to say this, but it's everybody knows how Jewish communities work. So I don't like to compare Adventism to Jewish people.
Why
but
not?
It seems to be the closest comparison. I'm gonna be honest.
exactly.
They do the Sabbath thing. Like it's
Jesus
just,
was a Jew, you know that, right?
Yeah.
And a matter of fact, so were a lot of the people who are seen as apostles in the Bible. They were mostly Jewish.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
hello, that's where the religion came from.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense to make that comparison.
Yeah, but I was saying that to say like Jewish people have a whole ecosystem. Not only do they have churches and synagogues, they have hospitals built around them. They have banks built around them. They have
We don't have
schools.
banks. I think they're doing it right because they're better with the money than we are.
Like it's to a point where if you don't want to, you can never talk to anybody outside your religion your whole life. Like you can
that's
be
true.
born and find somebody to talk to in any market, in a hospital,
don't matter where you are
in a
or
school,
what you're doing,
in a church, you could literally go every day and not speak to any non-Adventist if you really wanted to. That's how Jewish people have it set up. But
No, when you're talking about the Jewish community, yes, that's true. You could absolutely remain in a Jewish ecosystem indefinitely, but I don't think that that's the same case in Adventism.
I do think we could do it in Adventism. I think
Where do you bank?
No, of course, there's no Adventist bank.
Then hello.
I know that's the thing, and we have a whole episode dedicated to the money in Adventism. Like we're gonna get to the money part, yeah.
Yes.
But you have to understand that. I mean, the conference and what they trickle down has created an ecosystem, and it's something I'm actually proud of. The biggest hospital network in Florida, I told you, is an Adventist.
Yeah, it's big. It's big.
It's
big.
an Adventist
and
hospital.
I'm not saying that it's not big. I'm just saying that it's not complete.
It's not complete. There are some missing links, but I think as far as most religions have it, they're not trying to build this ecosystem.
Do you think that Adventists are trying to build that ecosystem?
I think they have. I think there's a couple of links missing. I do think you're right. I do think there's a bank missing and there's a lot of financial gaps.
Well,
that could be replaced.
How do you build that without young adults?
No, and that's a problem. We're missing the age range from 21 to 35.
I'm saying,
like that's the people that are gonna start the stuff. They're gonna have the energy to keep it going.
Those are the entrepreneurs. Those are the ones who are ready to take the risks. You're right, bro.
And I think that's the problem is the religion's not utilizing people in that age range.
Not our religion, but religions are.
Religions are. Our religion is not. I mean, we got to think about it. Like, we're at the age now where most of the people that we grew up with in the religion are pastors. Like, you could go to almost any black church.
There's a lot of people that was in my graduating class that are
pastors now, and you can go to their church and literally look them in the eye in front of the pulpit every Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so like we're at the age now where we're participating, but not as much as
we've already. But only that's true. But only the ones who stayed in are participating.
Yeah.
The ones the people from our graduating class that left it, that left at 25, they ain't coming back.
I mean, look at the numbers. Half of that freshman class left that we were in. Like,
Yo,
more than 60% of that freshman class.
And it's not like there's a lot of. It's not like they got a lot of people coming through the seminary now. I mean, I didn't go to the seminary graduation but I heard there was like less than 10 people, less than 10 graduates that was coming through that class.
It's become a family trait. Adventism has become one of them things where you have to be very deeply rooted to even stay. Like if you're one generation deep, I know it's almost like not worth it. Like people that I didn't know that there was third, fourth, fifth generation deep Adventists.
Oh yeah,
until I got to Oakwood. I'm serious because my parents are first generation.
Let's see.
My parents weren't even born Adventists. They became Adventists later in their life.
Let's see here. On my mother's side, let's see. I guess I would be second generation because my mother was Adventist, but
like
her mother was converted.
Right. Okay, see, yeah.
And then, but I think on my father's side, I think it might be the same way. And of course I can't ask anymore, but like it's like I think because like. My paternal grandmother was deep in Adventism, so part of me kind of thinks that it was like there's an extra generation on my paternal side. You might be missing, yeah. But I mean, you're right. It's definitely generational. That's true. But that's changing. That's changing.
But a lot of the commitment to the religion is generational. Like the people I see that are committing and actually becoming pastors and sticking with the religion well through their 20s and 30s, those are the people that their parents did it, and their parents' parents did it, and their aunts and all their uncles, and it's like a family system of them doing it. Like we don't really have that history with Adventism because I mean it's not that old. It's not that old. Like you can only be like a fourth or fifth generation Adventist, like at the max.
Yeah, that's true.
At the maximum, you know what I'm saying? It's a fairly new religion.
Yeah,
it's a fairly new religion. So it's not like Jewish people were like as far as you can count back.
Yeah, they got legacy.
Yeah, I mean it's not a lot of legacy in the religion. So it's almost like questioning like, are we gonna end the legacy with our generation? That's what I'm worried about. Is that the legacy is gonna end for Adventism with our generation? Because a lot of our parents
right now.
Well, a lot of our parents are first converts. Yeah, they're new converts.
What's our generation now? If it's hold on.
I mean, well, they say we millennial. Yeah.
Is that us millennials?
Yeah, we're millennial for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Well, so what do you think about So what does that mean for the ones that are after our generations? What is it? Gen Z? I'm thinking of Zennials specifically, or Zoomers. I'm thinking of Zoomers specifically, like Adventist members that are that are teenagers right now, because they waking up earlier than we did, bro.
Man, it's just impossible to keep anybody's interest since 2009. Man, the internet has changed everything. Like, I mean, attention spans are at an all-time low, and arguably people still stay in movies and sit and watch movies for 3 hours. So we're not gonna say that attention spans are gone, because people still go watch long movies and things like that, and people sit in front of TVs all day. So we're not gonna say that attention span is like 3 seconds. But with that generation, man, they're not even trying to capture their attention.
You got to give them something.
You got to
give them something in order for them to remain.
And that's the reason I stayed in the church after 18. By the way, is because I realized that if I didn't stay there, that the next generation wouldn't. And it's crazy. It sounds really sacrificial. Like you did all that and it wasn't even for you. And yes, I did. I'm serious. I realized that
they teach you that.
I realized that I saw myself in a lot of the kids that were at the church after I left. And I realized that the only reason it was able to work for me, church I'm talking about, the only reason it was able to work for me was because I was able to maintain my attention in there, but through other aspects, through other activities that were already in the church.
It wasn't the divine worship that kept you there.
It wasn't the divine worship. I remember picking up a guide magazine at the beginning of church.
Yo, don't tell you guide magazines, bro.
And those guide magazines,
I used to take them guide magazines, flip them right to the back. Bro, that was the only thing I really cared about, was the back part. The back part had like amazing facts or something crazy on it. That was the only part.
I would read the whole guide magazine
front to back, cover to cover, every week.
Cover to cover. I would do every puzzle in there. I would do every little search and find thing. We used to have to search and find the thing, bro. Woo. I don't even know what happened to Guide Magazine, but Guide Magazine,
I wonder if it's still around.
Guide Magazine got me through a lot. So Guide Magazine,
oh yeah, for sure, 100%.
And just creativity in general, like being able to create a world in my mind, literally got me through church. Look at that, Guide Magazine.
I only see this is only the website. I don't know. I'm trying to see if they got any.
Yeah, but they encourage exploration and just they encourage you to keep that inner childhood mind. And God Magazine, one of them things that actually inspired a lot of my imagination and creativity. Like I can fully say that I'm a creative person 100% because of church. I don't think I would have tapped into my creativity if it wasn't for church.
100%.
100%, because I'm gonna tell you why. It was the only thing I was allowed to do in church without getting in trouble.
Be creative.
That's it. I used to pack printer paper in my pocket with mechanical pencils, serious, and go to church and fill up every inch of this piece of paper. Because who knows? Maybe if I was raised now, they would have diagnosed me with ADD. I just knew how to manage it and maintain it as a kid. Like I focused that energy into things, and people like, yo, like, well, how you doing all this? And if I didn't, I'd be crazy. All right?
I understand that. It was origami for me. There was a member of I remember at Niles, Philadelphia SDA Church while I was living in Niles, Michigan. That's when I think of church. When I think of like church,
yeah.
That's what I think of, because like that was like the home church for me for the longest time. And then we had a member of our church who was like he had a farm or whatever, so he was kind of rural, but he came in and he would like teach us. He'd do the same kind of thing. You get the printer paper, but he'd fold it all up and he'd make all kinds of stuff, and he'd teach us how to do it and stuff. It was definitely that but it wasn't the divine worship service. It wasn't even a service.
As a kid, I rarely paid attention to the divine hour service.
Well, and honestly, the thing that I realized as from attending YouTube SDA is that I don't necessarily feel the Spirit from music, and I think that that's another thing that is changing between the generations, because both of my parents, like, they got the juice from the music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
don't feel that. I don't feel
so
that.
You're not getting the music not speaking to you.
Well, if it's me, I try to. Let's see here. If it was up to me, I would probably have a praise and worship service before divine worship, but divine worship, it wouldn't, and honestly, it wouldn't even be divine worship. It would be divine study. That's what would be optimal for me. It's like, yo, let's talk about what the Bible says.
See, that's what Sabbath school's for. That's what Sabbath school's for. Yeah. Sabbath school, and people that don't know out there, again, it's like Sunday school, but you get to actually participate and actually ask questions.
Then what's the point of the sermon?
No, what a sermon is for you to get the. I mean, it's more about what God is telling the pastor as far as perspective, all that. But if you have questions, that's really what Sabbath school's for. Well, and even Adventist youth that we used to have back in the day, which is a fully dead thing.
It now. Was
AY is fully dead.
Post divine worship services are definitely dead.
Yeah,
definitely dead. But but I disagree that I think if it were up to me, the sermon would be something that challenges you that challenges your beliefs from the basis of the word.
Okay.
Cause I promise you, bro, you start reading the Bible, some things are gonna jump out to you early, cause it starts in Genesis, bro. Like just. I don't need to go too deep because we're gonna talk about the Bible in another episode. We're gonna break it all down. But that's what I want. Like, that's what I think we're missing. Is like it all seems so superficial to me.
Okay. That's why
I'm not driving half an hour to go to church, so I drive half an hour back when I could do this from my own living room. That's the whole point.
And look, and see, that's why the whole YouTube thing is just, and it's really COVID that accelerated a lot of this YouTube ministry. Because to be honest, half of these churches didn't even have a live stream before COVID. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They didn't even have an active live stream, and if they did, they put no effort into it.
Well, they
cut the cameras off and they cut them off when it was done, and that was it.
They followed the enterprises. They followed the businesses, because the businesses did that too. So it's wild. When COVID first happened, I was working at a customer service job, and they on a Monday they were like, all right, half the office is gonna stay here, half the office is gonna go home. By Thursday, we was all work from home, bro. And it's like, and which I mean, it's cool, but the church did it after that. I think the church did it after the businesses did, which is, I don't know what that means. But it doesn't seem to indicate something good.
Yeah. Okay. Understood. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what that means. And truthfully, we definitely not going back. We are not going back to the way it was before.
And look, the reason when I got really scared is when our parents started doing the YouTube.
Yeah.
That's when I was like, well, if they ain't doing it, if they ain't putting on they church clothes and going to church, like, would that, like, should I be doing it? Like,
right.
Like when people's grandma started staying at home and figured out how YouTube worked and was just like, nah, baby, I'm gonna stay on home and go ahead and watch my YouTube. And I'm like, what, huh? Grandma, you not gonna put on clothes and go to church? Nah. I'm good right here. And that was when I got scared, because it's like those are the people that set the model for us. They're the ones that no matter how rain, snow, sleet,
they definitely still the foundation.
Like, I mean, they used to have to send out messages in Miami, okay, when there were hurricanes for people to not come to church, okay, because they were gonna come anyways. They was gonna come regardless. All right?
I don't care what the weather is. They like the postal service.
They used to, They used to have to call members one by one and tell them, "Don't come up in here. You gonna get blown away on the way here." And if you didn't call them and tell them, they were coming to church. Nowadays, man, it rained too hard. Ain't nobody coming, man. And it's at a point now where you almost more beneficial putting more effort into the live stream than you are putting an effort into the live actual sermon and the actual, like, not the sermon but the actual service at church. Like if you put more effort into the live stream, people are actually more tuned in, more liable to tune in online. And
I agree with that. So let's walk down this path. So let's just say that instead of let's say that they turned their church into a studio. They did an 11 o'clock divine worship service on Saturday, and then they had the studio open again for prayer meeting on Wednesday, and then then you have like a Friday evening service in the studio. You know, I mean, that seems and like that's a wild idea, of course. You know, I'm sure that's a wild idea, and I don't think it will ever happen. But if it did, I think it would bring in more people. But then again, you also got to think, how do you have members of a church that's 100% digital? When the sanctuary is a studio, how do you count your members?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And you can just look and see how many live viewers there are. That's it. And it's scary because a lot of the time,
that ain't no members.
It ain't members, but a lot of the time that number is bigger than the people in the building.
Oh yeah.
A lot of the time the live viewers on. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you're better off focusing on the live stream than you are at focusing on the people in the building, which is scary because you can't reach the people on the live stream like you could reach the people in the building. You can't.
Yes, that's true, but then of course that means that you have to do what is it called, like audience testing. You have to do the same kind of marketing analysis that you would do if you had a business. You would have to do the same thing at church, which, I mean, truthfully, if you're trying to get young adults back, you tell them you do a marketing analysis on the YouTube channel. That at least sends a sign that you're trying to do something different. But I think the problem is that but the problem is that, church has become obsolete. The actual divine worship service has become obsolete.
And you know what it is, and I think this is and this is kind of looking at the big picture, because I think a lot of people don't get a chance to see the big picture because they don't get enough pieces to put together. But I went to church internationally in Jamaica like 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and it's the first time I went to an Adventist church in Jamaica, I think, since I was a kid, and as a kid. And just so the listeners know, the perspective is different. Yeah, just so the listeners know, I'm from Jamaica. I'm from Jamaican descent. My mother's born in Jamaica. I'm a first generation American, and I'm technically a first generation Adventist as well. Because my mother converted late in her life, I think, as a teen, and then and so I'm the first generation of actual born into Adventism. So I went to church in Jamaica, and I think the way the religion works, and it sounds crazy, but it aligns with traditional cultures. Yes. So if your culture isn't traditional, the religion is gonna feel useless. So I think in America that's what we're going through, because our culture is not very traditional at this point.
Our culture is definitely increasingly liberal. That is definitely true.
It's becoming increasingly liberal. So I think it's become a thing where church is having a hard time finding its place in such a, I guess, rapidly growing and expanding culture. I think is what is America is having a hard time. Church is having a hard time finding a footing in America. while
purpose.
everything is changing. Yeah, it's having a hard time finding purpose.
Yeah.
When everything is changing so much, especially after COVID. Because after COVID, it was like, I don't even got to go into the building.
Changed.
I was like, I don't even got to go into the day that they said, yeah, you ain't got to come into the building anymore, is when everything changed for Adventism. That was when every single thing down to every handshake, every happy Sabbath, sir, every brother and sister Baker
gone.
and brother Baker, all that's gone.
gone.
You don't got to call nobody out their name. Like, you don't have to talk to anybody. You just turn on YouTube on your phone and on your TV and just watch it. It's literally the exact opposite of the purpose the church was made for.
Well, but I think it's better this way.
I don't.
Why not?
The literal reason I go to church, if I went to church online only, I wouldn't go to church. I like, there's so many better things to watch on YouTube in my head. Like, I'm gonna just keep 100.
There's a lot better stuff to watch.
I'm gonna just keep 100, and a lot, bro. Like, it's YouTube. Yeah. Like, come on, like. It's YouTube, bro. Like, the world is
like
your
1 billion hours uploaded
bro.
of video.
There's a billion hours of learning, education. I mean, you could be doing whatever you want on YouTube.
Of stuff on YouTube.
And it's funny because they say it about church when you get there. Like, we know you could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here. It's like, it's hard to say that on YouTube.
You should recognize.
It's hard to say that on YouTube, man. It's YouTube. Like, I wish they would put that on YouTube. We know you could be anywhere on YouTube, but you decided to be here because it's like, dog. Nobody's trying to skip everything on YouTube to go watch church, and it's like, man.
Well, no, but it's not that churches are competing with YouTube content. It's that members are specifically coming to YouTube to watch the service. And honestly, one of the best. Truthfully, I wait until the service is uploaded so I can watch.
It's done, so you can skip through the parts and see. I know. See, that's what I'm saying.
I scroll right past all the hour of and all the pomp and circumstance. I scroll right past that. I go right to the sermon. Because that's really like, that's what I be looking for.
Yeah,
that's what I be looking for. I'm looking to be taught. I want teaching. You know, I mean, the pastor at Mount Pisgah is actually very good at actually
really good guy, man.
doing that kind of stuff, and he's that whole congregation is really focused on being like an actual beacon.
In this area that is hands
so
down.
I'll give him that, but he's not in the minority. He's not in the majority.
No, he's not. No, I mean, and I would argue that there's maybe only a handful of pastors like that in congregations like that around the world. I mean, maybe a lot around the country at least that I've seen. I mean, it's usually, as I say, usually you go in a church and it's usually a bunch of people over 55.
Yep.
And then if it's not that, then they're under 20. And so you get this, as I said, massive gap in the middle. You might have a couple 40-year-olds, maybe a couple people like, but if they're not volunteering in the church, there's no reason for that age range to be there.
That's true.
There's no, like, it's losing its relevancy in America. And I'm realizing it's kind of only America. As I said, in traditional cultures, I'm telling you, and I think religion is it works better in a traditional culture. And I think America's losing its traditions. Like, I mean, whatever Trump trying to say about making America great again, it's funny because arguably whatever that great probably includes church in somewhere in the equation, believe it or not.
Maybe not church, but it definitely does include religion of some type.
It includes religion. I mean, America's like a majority, Christian.
I don't think that's true anymore. I think most Americans identify as non-religious now.
I don't know. I'd actually like to see the statistics. Maybe we pull that up because I still believe that the majority of America is Christian. I mean, we all know that the Bible Belt, and I didn't even know about the Bible Belt till like maybe about 10 years ago when I was in my 20s. Heard about the Bible Belt. You're talking about Texas, Alabama. I'm pretty sure Christianity is probably still the number one religion.
Pew Research Center, from an article in December 14, 2021, says about 3 in 10 U.S. adults are now religiously unaffiliated. So that's minority. Let's see here. Self-identified Christians make up 63% of the U.S. population in 2021, 60%. down from 75%.
Yeah, down from 75.
So
like, it's declining down very quickly. Yeah, it's declining.
Well, look at this.
Yeah, look at this.
78% down to 63%, but 16% in 2007 is now 29% that identify as non-religious in 2021.
29%. That's almost a third of the people.
You see this graph, bro. Yeah. It's like let's see here from 07 to 21. That's let's see, that's 7, 17, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years.
We know the numbers are dropping. Yeah, we know the numbers are dropping. Like, if we look at the chart and it keeps going like this, like if this was a stock graph,
well, I mean, what would make it change? Why
what
do you
would
think
make this number shift?
Right. Well, I mean, what would change the trajectory? That's what I'm saying. I mean, I know it would change the trajectory, but do you think it's going to happen?
I don't think it's gonna happen.
I don't either.
I think, as I said, I think these kind of religions and what we're used to is more aligned with traditional cultures, and I think, especially in America, we're growing out of our traditional habits. I think a lot, and I think religion is one of those things that's kind of it's shrinking.
Right, but you're right.
Yeah,
but it's not as if we don't seek something religious, because you can be your religion can be politics, your religion can be music, your religion can be PC culture can be your religion, all that kind of stuff. So it's not that. I think it's church that people are stopping. But they're still seeking religion.
Yeah, no, and people want to believe in something. Let's be honest with you. Like,
we need to believe in something.
People, like, because you lose hope when you don't believe in something. I mean, even if the idea of it is stronger than actually if it's real or not. To be honest with you, and I think that's something that we like. And it's funny because I think a philosopher said this, like a Greek philosopher. I can't remember who, but he said the idea of something is sometimes more powerful than the thing itself.
Do you think that's the church?
And I think that's what the church lives on. I think the idea that there is God, there is heaven, there is hell. I think that alone is more important than it actually being real. Believe it or not. I think, in my opinion, like that's. I think people believe it's real. Yeah, we get it. But even if it wasn't, even the act of believing that it's real is more important. Like what you do because you believe it is more important than like you acting good because you think it's gonna get you to heaven.
Is more
even
important.
Though there is no heaven, you believing it is making you act a certain way, even though the end goal might not even. We don't even know. As I said, even if they don't know it's real.
Well, I mean, we don't know
it's still gonna affect your everyday life if you believe it. But if you believe it, it's gonna affect how you move every day.
Sure. Yeah. But it doesn't have to. I don't think it has to be that way. I think that's been the prevailing strategy to keep people acting the right way, is to teach a specific method, when in reality it's like I don't think the book necessarily says a lot of the things that we teach. We teach it because it's easy to keep the congregation in line, the saints in line.
I think one of the most influential movies as far as this argument is the Book of Eli, and I think it's a top 10 movie to me. It's a top 10 movie to me of all time because there's so many messages in that movie, man. Denzel's a genius for picking that movie up, man. Like it pretty much tells you that the world is what is it's what, like a post-apocalyptic world, right? And the weapon being used, as we find out in the end, spoiler alert if you've never seen it, but it is the Bible,
right? And
pretty much the bad guy in this movie is using the Bible to control the masses, and he pretty much, the main character who Denzel plays, has the last copy of the Bible, and that's why they want him.
It works.
And because it's been proven to work for hundreds of years.
Right.
Religion has been proven to control people for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Hundreds and hundreds of years.
Yep.
So it's down to the argument is are we using it for good or for bad? And I think that's what the movie, and that's what the movie was, I think, trying to highlight, is that it could be used for good, because the good guy had the Bible and the bad guy wanted the Bible.
Yeah.
So it's like it could be used either way.
Yeah.
It could be used either way. And I think every day we go into these churches, we're trying to figure out, like, are they using this Bible on me? Or are they using it like for me? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it helping me or is it hurting me?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have come away with the conclusion that it's this room is hurting me. The church, the building is hurting me. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't need to be in here. The people in here they've come up with this idea that the people in the building are not for them. They're not for them.
I can agree with that statement. I
don't have no church ops, because like if it everybody got some church
so wait a minute.
ops.
So are you Seventh-day Adventist? Do you identify as Seventh-day Adventist?
I identify Seventh-day Adventist. If somebody asks me if I'm religious, I say 100% Seventh-day Adventist. Yes, I'm 100% Seventh-day Adventist. When I can and do, I go to church. Yes.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's and you're and as do I. But I think that what that means is changing. What it means to be Seventh-day Adventist is not the same as what it meant for our parents or our grandparents.
And I'm happy that it's changing, because I mean, not to say that what was being practiced when we were children was unrealistic, but I think it's as I said, in traditional cultures, it's easy to maintain a lifestyle like that. But I think in this day and age in America, and I'm not even just trying to say be realistic. I'm just saying like a lot has changed, and I think the church needs to adapt.
The church needs to change.
And I think we're trying to. I think a lot of us are trying to figure out how we can keep these morals we were raised with and adapt. And I think a lot of us are finding it hard to do both. I think that's what's going on. Is we want to adapt with the morals we were raised with, but we're finding these roadblocks where it's like you kind of have to jump over this hurdle.
The culture has changed.
Yeah,
the culture's changed. It was good for the culture that our parents and grandparents lived in, but our culture now is so much different than it was back then. That the rules have changed. The church has to change as well, and I'm with you, man. I hope they really do change, but I'm not sure if it will happen. If it happens, I'm not sure if it will happen fast enough.
No, it's gonna be generational. Like I think we're gonna be, as you said, we're gonna be the first of many generations to, if we decide to keep the church going, we're gonna be the first ones to. The millennials, the ones born in the late '80s, early '90s, are gonna be the ones to keep this thing going because it's supposed to be in our hands right now. It's supposed to be. We're supposed to be the pastors, the deacons, and it's not because if you go to any church, all the deacons, the elders, the pastor, everybody's over 50. They're all 55 plus. Right.
Time will solve that problem.
Yeah,
that's what I say. All right, so we've been going for a little while. It's let's see here. Where can people find me? Instagram at Legend of Andrew. That's really the only place. I got Facebook, but if I don't know you, you ain't getting a friend request from me, low key. So, what about you? Where can people find you?
Instagram as well. mb.j, 3 letters. That's it. I mean, I'm on everything. If you look hard enough, you'll find me.
You'll find me
for sure. If you look hard enough in the streets too, you'll find me.
Watch out now.
Not them kind of streets now, but
Well, Heathen Radio, it's like we in the streets too. So
you outside, I'm a minister to you there. I'm a minister to you there too, sir. All right, my brother.
I'm with it, bro.